Soul Simmers, welcome to the Builders Bootcamp, your ultimate training ground for learning how to build in The Sims. Whether you're a beginner or someone who's looking to level up their skills, this series will take you from the beginner tips to the pro level builds. This is the 2025 updated edition of the series that I did in 2022, since we've had quite a couple of build updates in The Sims, and it will cover everything that you need to know to create your dream builds in the game. So grab your blueprints and let's get to building. In episode 7, we are going to be talking about stairs and ladders. Stairs and ladders are extremely powerful in The Sims for making your floor plan, making everything look cute, and of course, for the most obvious reason, making sure that your Sim spaces are accessible. So let's go into the game and let me show you all the magic around stairs and ladders that you would ever need to know. So we are back with this wonderful build that I made the last time, where I've removed all the weird window placement because obviously that was really not the vibe. But I am going to show you how I would place the stairs in this build. Something that I would say is always super important with stairs is that you kind of do it in combination with the floor plan. However, for the sake of this series and making sure that episodes don't get too long or with too much information, I'm splitting the floor plan and the stairs up, but I would advise you whenever you're doing a build to go about the stair placement and the floor plan at the same time, simply because it's gonna help a lot to think about them kind of in conjunction. However, let's actually start with the simplest part of all, and that is ladders, because there's not a lot to ladders, so I feel like once we've got that out of the way, we will have all the time in the rest of the video to talk about stairs. Ladders can be found in the stair section, so you can find that over here where it literally tells you stairs and ladders. And once you click on this, you have to go to the second icon called ladders. If you only have the base game, then you'll only have this ladder, and then if you have either high school years or eco living, you will have 2 more ladders. Let's just use the base game one for now. Like always, the swatches are over here. It actually comes in a pretty decent variety of colors, and as soon as you click it, it will just grab it for you. As you can see, by default, if you don't have any cheats enabled, you cannot actually place the stairs just in nowhere. It has to actually lead to something. So there are different options that you have here. Sometimes, as you can see, you're already gonna have to hover over a little bit here and there, but there are different placements for ladders. So the first one would be over here, which is on the outside of a building. And what happens here, it is technically the ladder is always going to try to snap to the first accessible flat part of the build. I hope that makes sense if I say it like that. So as you can see here, this ladder is going all the way up here because technically the game is saying, hey, underneath this roof, there is technically an accessible flat part. It's not really that accessible because technically there's a roof there, but here is a wall, so your Sims won't be able to go through the wall for sure. However, if I actually delete this wall, let's also place that roof back so that doesn't look too ridiculous, and I then get this ladder again with the move, you will see that it will start to snap if it wants. So there we go, to the second floor. Something that sometimes helps if the ladder placement is struggling a little bit is as soon as you're holding it, try to move your mouse to the part where you want it to snap to, like the highest point. As you can see, if I'm trying to move it onto the floor, it's trying to place it in a basement. So the ladder navigation, so to say, or controls are basically done from the top part of the ladder. Ladders are always a single tile wide. You cannot make them wider or change their direction or anything. So in terms of controls of the ladder, placing them is basically all you have. If you take a ladder and you go inside of a build, so instead of going on the outside but going on the inside, the ladder will always place from the floor that you're on to the floor above it. If you want to place a ladder that goes from this floor downwards, you're gonna have to use control on your keyboard. So as you can see, as soon as I click control, the ladder will jump down. And then as soon as I click it, it will actually create this hole in the floor. So your Sims actually get off on either of the sides where there is a little arrow. As long as one of these 3 is free, your Sims will be able to use these stairs. So just keep that in mind. You can technically place something over here, and your Sims will be able to climb up and go out of here. If you block all 3 arrows, your Sims will say that they cannot climb these stairs and they will become basically very useless. So keep that in mind when you're building, and that those stairs don't cause any problems or rooting issues for your Sims. I think that's pretty much everything that I can tell you about ladders because they're just relatively straightforward. Then we're gonna move on to the next part, and that is stairs. And if you grab a set of stairs, it doesn't really matter which one you grab. There is a slight difference between some of them that I will explain in a little bit, but let's just start with the basic. If you grab a set of stairs, this is what you will get. The stairs will automatically adjust to the right wall height on the inside. So as you can see, we are now on short wall, but if I adjust this to tall wall, the stairs will adjust with it. You don't have to think about this. The stairs will just automatically grow with your wall height, so to say. Not too long ago, The Sims was actually only able to do stairs like this. So you could grab the stairs and then you could rotate them so they like with your period and your comma key, or with the little arrows over here, you could change the direction of the stairs, but that was it. You could make stairs very wide, so stairs, unlike ladders, you can actually make wider than one tile, but that was about the most controls that we had over a set of stairs. However, that is no longer the case, and actually I've come to realize that more and more people don't know how to make L-shaped stairs, or get even funkier and make U-shaped stairs, square spiral stairs. It is all possible in The Sims. So what you're gonna do is once you click on the stairs, you see this arrow over here. And what it basically tells you is this square in the middle is the so-called landing. It's like the mid part of the stairs if you had an L-shaped stair. And then it has the arrows to the two sides, which is basically just telling you like, hey, you can take this landing either left or right. So as soon as you click that and then drag to the right, just like drag a little bit to the left or to the right, as you can see, it will create this sort of like transparent part of the stairs. Bam, there you have it. You created a landing on that side. Then from here on out, there are even more controls, so you can even get more precise with the placement. The first and most obvious one is this one, which is basically like, do you want to move this landing down, which creates straight stairs again? Or do you want to move this up, basically changing which part of this L-shaped stairs is longer? Let's go back to this original version that we had before. Then you also see that there is another set of arrows here. It's the same one. It's like, hey, the landing, do you want to go left or right? From here, you can create a second landing, creating that U-shaped stairs that I mentioned before. If you wanted to, you could also go the other way, sort of creating S-shaped stairs. So you can get pretty creative with your stairs and the shapes that you wanted to have. Now that you know this arrow and this arrow, there is one at the bottom over here, which allows you to curve just the lowest part of the stairs. So this is to adjust which part is taller. This one is to basically control this upper part and add an extra landing. And then this one is to control this bottom part. So if you wanted to create U-shaped stairs, but that are really like narrow and there's not a gap in between, you could go from here and then go around again. As you can see now, the bottom part of the stairs is basically touching. It didn't change in height. We could change that from here still. So now that part is longer and that part is shorter. We can even go back from that as well. As you can also see, this one where you can create like the extra landing or the extra square part of the stairs moves to the longest part. So now I said it's linked to the top part. That's not entirely correct, because as soon as we move this around, as you can see, it moves with it to the other side. And like I said, again, you can get pretty creative with this. So from here, you can even rotate it like this. So you can have stairs going like this. And my suggestion for you would be play around with this. Kind of experiment with what you can do here, because there are so many options that it is impossible for me to show all of them to you. And I think the most intuitive part is gonna come from you just placing stairs and kind of experimenting. As you can see, if the stairs are too wide, you can still use these arrows, so you can still get creative with your stair shapes. I actually don't know. Let's do a little live test here, whether that arrow will disappear at some point. Yes, so as soon as the stair is 4 wide, you can no longer make L-shaped or U-shaped stairs, but even for 3 wide stairs, you can still let it go around a corner, and you basically get all the adjustments that we've just talked about. So now that you have seen all the arrows that allows you to control a stair, there was one thing that I promised to tell you guys as well. As you can see, when I place these stairs, it automatically sort of has this wall underneath it, right? It's not like empty. But then when I grab this one, you'll see that it's actually empty. There's no wall underneath it. So some stairs come with walls and some stairs come without them. What is important to know is that stairs that come without the walls by default, you cannot add walls like this. You cannot add walls that go diagonally under the stairs perfectly. Obviously, you can go around it and place a wall like this, but the wall won't actually sort of adjust itself to the angle of the stairs. However, stairs that come with walls, there the walls can be deleted to create a stair without walls. So if you are looking for the right set of stairs to use in your house, important to know is that if you're using this one, which is absolutely stunning, you're never going to be able to get a wall that perfectly fits. However, if you're using this one from Jungle Adventure and you're like, okay, that's fun, I don't really like the bottom part of the stairs, you can actually delete it and then you're just left with the steps, basically, I would say. Something that is also good to know is if you do have stairs that have the wall and you actually want to make sure that it matches your house, it is just a wall that you can paint. It does always paint the entire stairs, so keep that in mind if you have stairs like on 2 different sides of a room. As far as I know, I don't think you can actually just paint one side of the stairs. I'm just trying out my keyboard shortcuts, but no. The stairs always paint as one whole building block, basically, but you can adjust the color to make sure that it fits your house. This also happens like if you will change the layout of the stairs or anything, it will all change it with it again. So this like bottom part will change with it as soon as you delete it. That also works for having like stairs without any wall space under it. Also good to know is that wall space that is under it, you can technically add a door. So like you can pretend something is underneath there. And if you're playing with the walls like partially down, you sometimes notice that the stair space is like also visible if you play with the walls half down. That actually is. So you could decorate, but your Sims can't actually go in here. Like they will refuse to go in here. However, if you have the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, you can in fact get one of the pet doors, like one of these small ones, and place it in here. And then you can put the walls fully down. And then if you wanted to, you could decorate underneath the stairs and your pets will actually go underneath the stairs. Sometimes it takes a little bit of fiddling around. It doesn't always work, but I have more than once created successful cute pet spaces underneath my stairs. So I just want to let you know that this space is not accessible for Sims, but it is accessible for pets. Then something that is also good to know specifically for floor plans is if you want to do 2 stairs on top of each other, which is actually pretty realistic. Like a lot of houses will have like a stair, an L-shaped stair or a curved stair, and then the next set of stairs to the floor above it will basically start at that same landing. So you can actually create something similar in The Sims, but you do need a little bit of a workaround. So you're gonna grab the stairs and you're gonna start at the highest floor of the 2, because if you start at the bottom floor, you can no longer place the other stairs. So you're gonna start here, you're gonna place your stairs. I've quickly deleted the roof so it can actually go up to this floor even though there's nothing there. But once you've done this, what you're gonna do next is you're gonna make sure that you delete that wall, because if that wall is there, this won't work. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna get these same stairs in the same place, and then you're gonna hold control on your keyboard. Again, just like with the ladders, what happens if you hold control on your keyboard is that the stairs will place on the floor below. So normally the stairs will place on the floor that you're currently building on, but if you're holding control on your keyboard, they will jump down. That also works if you want to do stairs that are not necessarily above each other like this, but sometimes from a floor plan perspective, it's just easier to work from the upper floor downwards rather than try to figure out where the stairs are supposed to go from the downstairs floor upwards. So if I hold control on my keyboard, there we go. Now they are actually underneath each other. I will show you that as soon as I move this one out of the way now, and like let's say I started with the one on the bottom floor first, it is actually impossible for me to place this stair back to where it originally was. Even though you can, you just need to change the order of placing the stairs, starting with the higher floor and then basically going to the floor below it. And it helps to use that trick of pressing control so that you can basically first have those stairs in the exact same place by grabbing them and then holding control to move them down. Just like with walls and floors, unfortunately the designer tool doesn't work on stairs, so if you want to change the color of the stairs after you've placed them, you can actually basically just grab any other stair that you have and place it on top of here. Again, good to know is if you grab one of those stairs that doesn't have a wall below it and you place it, it will delete the wall. So you cannot sneakily change out like one of the stairs that doesn't come with a wall and hope that the wall will stay. That unfortunately doesn't work. So you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that that wall disappears, but you can actually grab another one that does have a wall and then the wall will stay. This way you can basically change out the stairs or the color of the stairs later in your build. So don't worry too much about grabbing the right stairs straight away. Worry a bit more about the shape of the stairs and the placement, and then you can decide on the color later. So now that you know everything about how to select stairs, customize them, place them, etc. Something that is also good to know is the railings. So there is a wide variety of railings in The Sims, and unfortunately, railings always place on both sides of the stairs. I think all of us Simmers have been asking for years to be able to place railings on just one side of the stairs by holding Control or Shift or Alt. Unfortunately, that is not an option, so you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that your stairs will always have railings on both sides. At first, you might think that that is not really a big problem and it's not super relevant, but the more advanced you get with building, the more different styles of builds you're gonna do, the more you're gonna run into the challenge that not always do you want railings on both sides of your stairs. Then I just created like a little foundation area to show you what happens if you want to place stairs up to a foundation. So the stairs will automatically like try to snap to the highest floor, but if you place them correctly, you can actually place stairs up to a foundation. If anything is higher than like one raise, so if you have the foundation and it's like completely flat, we'll delete the stairs. But if it's anything from like one up, this is technically, you don't need stairs. Your Sims can step up this. Your Sims can always step up one block. But anything from one all the way up to super high, you can basically have stairs leading up to the house. Something that is also good to know here is if you're working with fences, so let's say that you're trying to, at first you've created like a cute porch. So you've created like a fenced in porch. Let's get a fancy fence. There we go. And then you realize, shit, this is not a balcony. I want to have stairs here. If you place the stairs, the fence will automatically delete. But actually, it doesn't really delete, it just becomes invisible. And sometimes this causes glitches, sometimes this causes that your Sims won't be able to enter the house. So before you place stairs, I always recommend to people, just delete the fence on the part where you're trying to place the stairs. One, this saves you money because you're not placing fencing that you don't see at all anyways. And two, this way you are for sure certain that your Sims will be able to walk up here and not run into like an invisible fence. This is also something that is really good to know if you download a build off of the gallery and your Sims have rooting issues and they refuse to go into the house. Always check if there's an invisible fence, because I've had this issue multiple times and the Sims team says that this is not a bug and that it should actually work, but for me at least, it very often doesn't work. So now that you know anything about regular stairs, I think it would be fun to talk about a bit more creative stairs. This involves using platforms to create custom stairs. And something that I think is always immediately important to mention here is that unfortunately you cannot create custom stairs in combination with a foundation. So we currently have a house that is on a foundation. If I wanted to do custom stairs next to this, I unfortunately wouldn't be able to use platforms, because what happens if I connect the platform to it, the platform will get a foundation. So if you want to use custom stairs and you want to get really creative with basically your walkway up to your house, the only way that you're going to be able to do that is basically use platforms everywhere. This might be a little bit more advanced, but I want to show it anyways because I feel like specifically for modern builds, this is going to unlock a heap of creativity. Something that I like to do when I'm working with platforms is either go to medium or tall wall height, because that gives me a lot more literal height to work with when I'm going to up the platforms. So let's start with the medium wall height, because I think that will give us like a nice baseline. Then what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna make sure that on the inside of your build, you have a platform as well. I would suggest doing this before you make a floor plan and before there are any rooms, because otherwise you're gonna have to select that per room individually. If everything is still one room, it is a lot easier to do this. You're gonna click on the room and you're gonna raise it, let's say by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This way, as you can see, the wall height indoors all of a sudden isn't that tall anymore. However, that also means that between this low space and the space indoors, there is a 4 raised. So we can go in here and we can also raise this 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is how tall the floor basically is on the inside. From here, we can start using platforms to get a bit creative with our stairway. So let's actually say that I want this landing space to be too wide, but then I want to get a platform that goes next to it, and that is then like 1, 2, 3. Again, your Sims will always need only one raised to be able to step up to it. So otherwise, like your Sims will just say, I can't go up here. You can, if you want, use stairs again. So you can like connect stairs to a platform as well. But from here, like I said, we can also get creative and use like custom made stairs. If you connect these two blocks to each other, they'll become one again. So make sure that if you copy this, you first place it one out of it, then go down and then connect the two. It's one of those annoying features, but we work our way around it. And then we go that one like that, and there we go. I mean, obviously for this style of house, maybe questionable to go for a stairs like this, but I hope that you can see where I'm going with this. This gets especially creative if you're also using the half walls next to it to create sort of like a flowing railing yourself, because again, it is a custom stair, so you won't be able to use like the default railing that comes with actual stairs. But with half walls, you can get pretty creative and you can start to like add a railing next to this as well. There we go. And as you can see, you can get really creative with this. You can make really fun concepts. This is also fun to do in the house to create maybe like a raised windowsill or anything. So platforms allow for a lot of creativity. And one of my favorite ways to actually use platforms is to create custom stairs specifically for modern builds. So now that we've covered ladders, stairs, and all their controls and custom stairs with platforms, I think this is where this episode ends. Let me know in the comments down below if there was anything that you learned from this episode that you did not know before. If that was the case, please make sure to toss this video a cheeky like, and of course, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss the next episode of the Builders Bootcamp, which will be all about landscaping and the terrain tool. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye everyone!